Lore. It's lore day.
Lore.
I love the fact that the speech to text, the closed captions, they really can't it turns into lower instead of lore. Oh no, now it did. But it didn't like that in the start. Hi everyone. Hi babe.
Hi, it is my obligatory I'm working from home, so I must pest you at the start of stream.
Yeah, I
Moment.
should have figured.
So.
Hi everyone. Boom shakalaka. Yeah, really.
Get squished.
Okay.
Have fun with the stream.
Thanks. Help! Help!
I love you.
Oh goodness.
You guys, don't be too mean to them. The weather is shit today.
It is. It really is.
Hi away.
It's so very cold right now. We're being hit. Kane, I ought to time you out for that. How dare you? Cast manual breathing. Fuck you. Get inflicted with it as well. Wow, we're starting with swinging hands today, as it were. All right. Well, ignoring that, rude. Hi everyone. Welcome to the very first lore/world building stream ever that I've ever done. Because this is scary as hell. This is a admittance of, oh, people actually care enough to come and watch me yammer about my world that I've hallucinated for the past 3 years. Mew, mew. Listen. Okay, I'm aware that there's like the knowers that care, but that's because they're my friends anyway, so that doesn't count. In my head, that just doesn't count. But anyways, guys, I'm very excited. I have in a little LibreOffice doc, because we don't use Word or any Microsoft Office bullshit in this house. I have compiled 20 questions from the community. And I realize I have to put my glasses back on because I can't read it if it... Oh, there we go. Now it's on. Now it's right in front of me so I can read it. We have quite a few questions. I can either go through the questions one by one, or I roll a d20, because there's 20 questions exactly. There were 17, and then I was like, wait, wouldn't it be nice if it was a nice round number?
How do people fuck?
What?
How do people fuck?
How do people fuck? We can't discuss that on Twitch.
How are babies made?
Alright, I guess we're... Fox. Yes, I am, indeed. I guess we're gonna be doing the D20 method just because I think it's fun. Hi, Panda! I just think it's fun. We are going to be listening through a queue of all of the Skyfell characters playlists. So it's just gonna be going one after the other, in order. So yeah. Let's roll a d20 and let's answer our first question. We're also going to be drawing at the same time. I'm going to be working on the world map, actually. Which is actually, I was like, oh yeah, I'll leave it for stream. And then during D&D last night, I just ended up doing quite a bit of it. So, here's the world map. Ooh, shiny. Oh, and we're also doing a daily doodle. Hold on. I need glasses for this. If you roll the same number more than once, what are you gonna do? I roll again. Simple as that. Okay. First things first, we roll a d20. And we see which question we're going to tackle first. That's a 14. Okay. What are some of the more popular, unique cuisines / dishes of the area / world? Well, that's a broad question. As you can see, I have made an entire world. But since we're doing a daily doodle, let's switch over to Clip Studio real quick. And CSP. There we go. Music's a bit loud. 2 seconds. There we go. Right around the -30. So, types of food. Let's focus specifically on like where the main plot is going to be happening, which is the continent of Lorelei. Lorelei is mostly known for it's a lot of marshland and then mountains and then freezing cold to the north. So, it's a little funky when it comes to dishes. It's a lot of like tubers, lots of soups, lots of stews, things like that. Hold on. Let me roll the d6. 1, we're drawing Issa. Do. Exactly, Ursa. Beep. What is Issa doing for this doodle? Let's have her having some cuz she is not originally from Lorelei. She is from a different continent altogether, which I'll show on the map. I heard cold. Yeah, it's very cold in the north of Lorelei. There is a point about 100 miles or kilometers, I can't remember which one I wrote, north of the land that is an absolute freezing at all times. People aren't able to actually go there unless they're acclimated to it. So, again, difficult to sort of grow food there or like raise animals or anything. So, there's ways around it, but you are going to be eating a lot of ice. You'll be hydrated at least. We're gonna have Issa just eating some soup. Good soup. Yeah, that's gonna be the doodle. It's gonna be the good soup. Yeah, so Lorelei is the whole continent. The coldest place is called Ebongate. And it's been called that because of reasons which I will explain the second I am not actively drawing this. It's gonna be like a chunky soup, you know? Wait. Let's get this mouth shape right. Well, it's soup, so like that's more of a forward soup. Good soup. There we go. But yeah, mostly lots of stews, lots of soups, lots of like dried meats. Dried meats are the shit here. Oh no. Dude, Twitch Mobile is just actively, it continues to be just some of the worst stuff that has been put out there app-wise, which is ridiculous considering the amount of continuous money. Oh yeah, also, new page came out today. Go read it if you haven't already. Issa's having a totally normal one. Um there we go. Ear shape. Good soup. Good soup. There we go. There's the doodle.
Speaking of good soup.
What was that?
Speaking of good soup, sorry about that.
Oh, no, you're fine. I don't even know if it got picked up by the mic. There we go. Yeah, don't worry. The VOD's gonna be up on the VOD channel. And this VOD is gonna be on Twitch for at least the next few months anyways, so if you can't stay, that's a-okay. I'll be talking about lore all day. Wow. Too many rhymes. Too many rhymes. We move away. We move away from that. Oh, fuck! Okay. Feb 13 bonus 1. There we go. All right. So there's our first question answered and our one of our daily doodles because I know there's going to be more. So let's cross this one out. Nope. All right. We roll another d20. How did we roll another 14? Hold on. Hold on. Okay, there we go. 9. Can anyone use magic, or do they have to be blessed by the gods to do so? Absolutely not. The gods have nothing to do with that. Well, there is a type of magic that can come from higher beings. That's called devotion magic. And that can be from any sort of a powerful entity. Like regular fucking Joe Schmoes can also technically be like sources of power and magic like that. But it's not just the gods. I've talked a bit about the different kinds of magic before. Let's shimmy over to here. So you guys are looking at the world. So the list of magic. Where is it? Types of magic. There you are. So, types of magic. In Everathis, there is arcanists. These are people who pull directly from something beyond the elements and are just able to tap into the pure chance possibility, all of these different kinds of aspects of existence and magic, and are able to sort of cast like that. Blood mages are mages that they use their own blood in order to as like a sort of as like a material component. I love this music, but it having lyrics is fucking me up. But yeah, so blood magic is essentially just you use your blood or others. Hey, remember that TikTok about blood trickery? Yeah, there's unfortunately a little bit of a thing of like, oh, you're a blood mage? Where do you shop? Cuz yeah, it's the sure, you can use your own blood to empower your magic. But if you're trying to do something really, really big, you won't be able to do it by yourself. So sometimes external help is required. Um, so, eh. Um, Psi mages are essentially, these are the people who can just get into your head. Think telepathy, sending thoughts to your head. They can make you feel emotions and stuff. Um, you'll know that they're there. There's no subtlety to it. Very much bull in like a what is it? China shop or something like what is it? What how's that phrase? Whatever. But yeah, so that's that one. Hold on. There you go. Sorry, I was looking through different tabs. Yeah, very much these are Psi mages are seen as relatively weak. Because it's just in your head, but that means it's in your head. They can change your perception of things, so very much the like you walk into a room and it's just like, "Oh my god, everything's on fire." And it's like, "No, it's not. They're just making you see fire." Well, in a China shop, yes. Okay, good. I got the phrase right. It's telepathy Odysseus' son. um next type, and this one is highly debated on whether or not it's actually magic, but it is kind of silver tongues. Their whole thing is literally they have like a sort of a silverish colored symbol on their tongue, and when they speak, they are able to influence people's actions. Most of the time, just like regular schmegular silver tongues are like, hey, go get me this thing, and then the person will do that, and then they'll be like, why did I just do that? I didn't want to do that. If they're more practiced, they can start changing people's minds, but that's just again, it's suggestion. It's all through suggestion. These guys are obviously not liked. Yeah, they're professional gaslighters. Nolan likes to say that he was a silver tongue before silver tongues were a thing. Uh, but yeah, there was a very long standing thing before more regulation happened. This is going to be covered in chapter 6. There are registries for some magic types, which sucks and is bullshit. We can all agree on that. But silver tongues especially, it was the like, hey, we need you on a fucking list so that people are consenting to talk to you in case you try and start shit, essentially. Because the registries are the nicer option. Before that, they would just cut out their tongues. So, you know. Next down is elemental mages, so elementalists. This is what Nolan would be classified under. And these are just guys that they're able to think Avatar world, essentially. It's just, I'm good at this one element, and then maybe I can do a couple others, but I'm really good at this one. Just very much pulling directly from, this was elemental magic is the oldest magic. Registry thing is mine with divination magic. Yeah. Um, but yeah, elemental magic is like some of the oldest magic that exists, just because it's this is how people discovered magic after the apocalypse that was Skyfell. Um, so people were like, "Whoa, I can like move water into a certain direction so that we can start farmlands, or I'm able to move boulders out of the way or sculpt them in ways that I want." Just all of these little things that people started developing more and more of. Um, so yeah, very, very old magic. And a lot of it, especially back then, it was very much tied to an almost divinity, which we'll get into later. Um, Next is a magic that is not really a magic, but it's they insist it's magic. It is kind of a magic. It's just it's a low-tech magic, you know? It's additive magic or like alchemists. These are the people who it's essentially they're combining technology and magic. So these are your artificers and stuff like that. You got to have a good understanding of engineering to be an alchemist in general. These are the mages that sort of revolutionized like rune magic and stuff like that. So it's that yeah, you don't have to do years of study in order to do basic ass magic. It's just here's a little doodle you can carve into something and it'll have a little bit of a magic effect. So that's additive magic. Now, devotion magic is relating to the actual question that got me on this list. Devotion magic is your clerics, your holy warriors, and those stupid enough to sell their life and soul to a powerful being in exchange for power. Um, these are devotee mages or devotion mages. This is very much a contractual type of magical exchange. They're siphoning it or like channeling it through themselves from a higher creature or whatever. Could be a god, you know, who knows? Um, there isn't a single flavor of it. It's not just like a, oh yeah, all devotion mages do this kind of magic. It's like, no, no. Some devotion mages are like, yeah, I'm a really good healer. Others are, yeah, I can make a volcano erupt. Okay. Okay. I was only slightly starting to shrimp. Rude. The issue with devotion magic is most of these relationships are for life and beyond. If you're if you're desperate enough to sell your soul to something, there is no escape from the indentured servitude that you have now. Because not even in death will you be freed from that. Because of a problem with the afterlife, which I will try and avoid for the most part discussing because that's gonna be covered in the comic. And then the last type is the type of magic that people just are too confused about, so they bundled all of it into a single type, which is esoterist. An esoteric mage is these are the guys that were like, I want to understand the concept of living to a fundamental degree and then go mad in the process of that understanding. It is the random bullshit go category, correct. These are the mages that are like, I want to understand the intricacies of that moment when you die. I want to understand that exact millisecond where you go from being alive to being dead. And people will it's very much the time knife situation where it's just you either come out of it the other end being like having absolutely lost your facilities faculties, whatever. Both. Or it's the okay, cool. I just saw the time knife, and now I can do some really cool magic. Um, yeah, there isn't really a limit to what this magic can be, other than can you mentally handle what knowledge you are acquiring? That's essentially what an esoterist mage is. Quick follow-up question to this: does magic have a finite capacity? That's where it gets a little complicated. Because with some of the magic, yes, elemental mages learned a very long time ago that their magic is very, very finite. And if they abuse it too much, it will lash out. Um, one of the first wars that ever broke out in this world happened in Shania, right here, Piofatoria. This is where a major war happened. It was the War of Sap and Ink, and it was arcanists, some of the first arcanists that ever emerged, essentially had a dick measuring contest with the established elementalists, and were like, actually, our magic is better. And in that war, the elementalists were pulling too much from their source magic. And because of that, nature rebelled and made sure that the mages that were using it for a means to an end remembered that nature is a force to be reckoned with. And that's why a lot of history books say that arcanists won, because yeah, they were so smart and clever. And it's like, no, it's because the source of the elementalist mage's magic basically destroyed them. So, yeah. It's a very messy piece of history. One of many in this world. Prism Peaks is its own fucking nightmare. So is Aradata. No one can go there. Pretty much. Hold on one sec. All right. Let's clean up some of these edges. Also, you can see that there's some like unnamed places. That's fine. I'll deal with that later. But yeah. This is the current world map. I know you love putting trauma into and what about it? So I actually have 2 maps pulled up and stuff. You don't need to cram trauma to nook and cranny. Yes, I do, and yes, I will. So I also have separate just the continent, because I need this for my own reasons. There's a load of places called text, average country name. Listen, as you can see with this world map, this is a world that was heavily fucked up. Skyfell, named after the major apocalypse that happened about 2 millennia-ish? No, about almost 3, 2.5 millennia ago from the current comic. And it was just 3 meteors that impacted the planet. And that's it. That's all that happened. And everything got fucked up because of it. um but yeah, it's there's a lot to those different kinds of magic. But yeah, most of the time like magic isn't, you gotta respect its source most of the time. Is this world anvil? No, this is incarnate. Spelt like ink and ornate. Really, really good place for making maps of all kinds. I'm mooching off of my wife's account, but you can make any kind of map. This is the place to make battle maps as well. Like, they got all sorts of different styles for like world maps and stuff like that. Like, I'm just using the parchment one because that's nice and simple. But they also have like the give it a second.
Yeah, it doesn't like Firefox.
It really doesn't like Firefox, but I hate Chrome, so I'm not using Chrome. But it's like, it's got everything to make any sort of maps, top down specifically. Sometimes they have a little bit of like, I know they do have some that you can do stuff with, but yeah.
Yeah, they have some isometric stuff as
Yeah,
well.
that's the word. I was trying to remember. Fox using Firefox. Shock it. Listen, forget me being connected to Foxes for a second. Hello. Firefox just in general works a lot better, and also isn't spyware. That's a big part of it. Hydrate, thank you, Demi. Oh shit, I'm out of water. Listen, the second that they made like a PDF editor for just base, like the base browser, I was like, there's no way in hell I'm going back. No way in hell. But yeah, so actually now I can kind of show you. So Lorelei, right? Ebongate, that's the cold as fuck place. So bad time up here. Real cold the further north you go of that last island. Yeah, the fact that you can't get rid of Microsoft Edge is garbage. Ugh. You can do tab groups in Firefox. Like, I'm 99% sure.
You can, I do.
You can?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can do the same thing. I don't have a tab problem. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, no, I feel that. But yeah, so for how, Google it. Just, you have the browser. Hello, Frowsy. Frowsy. Hello. Is this an original story? Yes. This is for my comic Skyfell. New page actually just came out today. And I was like, hey, I want to do a Skyfell stream on Thursday, but I can't decide what to do, and people voted on lore and world building. So I'm working on a bit on the world map. Oh my goodness! Thank you for the follow. I'm working on the world map. I'm answering some questions. Actually, speaking of, let's actually go and roll for another question, shall we? Let's get rid of that. It was this one, yes. All right. So we've gone through 2. We still have 18 left. All right. 13. Are there any locales that you find particularly interesting or make no goddamn sense? Yeah. There are 2 places in particular. One of them is actually down here. Kyrell. Kyrell is not actually here. Kyrell is a series of floating rocks held together by a hurricane so strong that you can essentially walk on air. There's a lot of weird natural phenomenons in this world. Kyrell is definitely one of them. It is very hard to find Kyrell because it is just kind of moving always. Yeah, it is one of the few like Sky City village town places. It's that thing of like, oh yeah, it's a city. Well, sometimes it's really small. Other times it's huge. Because it just kind of keeps picking up debris as it flies everywhere. Does it ever fly over land? Yes, and that's how people knows it exists. Listen, any good fantasy story needs to have at least some floating islands and stuff. So Kyrell is definitely up there with weird locales. The other one, which I can't put on a map, is Flicker City. Flicker City is just this round, walled-in city that teleports. It doesn't stay in the same place for longer than a week. There are a couple times where it stays closer to a month in a single location. It is a very odd place. But yeah, it'll jump between dimensions frequently. Sometimes it'll just, land one day in Tyrus, and then the next day it'll be over in like Elunvis, and then the next day it's in the Eldritch Plane. Damn it, we missed the island. Oh yeah, that definitely happens. But yeah, Flicker City is, you can't track it. The only way you can track it is if you are a Harbinger, and that's it. There is actually a rather large Harbinger populace in Flicker City because of that, because it's just like, yeah, I can foresee that Flicker City is going to be landing outside of, let's choose a random place, outside of Sephora in about 2 weeks. So if we are there while it's landed for exactly 5 minutes, we can hop in. Flicker City's got a lot of like arcane protections around it, because the displacement of air that it creates is essentially, it causes a small little sonic boom. Oops. People don't really know what the origin of Flicker City is. They just know it's been around for a millennia at this point. Well over. Oh my god, wait, no, hold on, pause. It's been around for almost 2 millennia. Let's the crew go to bed and wake up next day next week? Yeah. I do very much want to, I want to make little spin-off comics of just like, hey, here's the time that they're completely unrelated from the main plot. They're in Sephora, or they're in Delucia, or something like that. They would never go up to Elunvis because that's where Issa's from, so they don't want to go near there. But there's all these like little stories that I want to write with the omens where they're traveling around, that are just divorced from main plot shenanigans, right? So those are the two weird little locales I can think of off the top of my head that I love them so much. They're so strange and it's great. And there's a couple of like places just all over that it's just like, oh, that mountain range has just a giant hand coming out of it. Anyways. Or they get slurped up by Kyrell. Oh man. Yeah, so Kyrell is, you gotta go up pretty high in order to hit Kyrell. Kyrell is, the only way people can survive there is because of the very like breathable air that is kind of contained by this whirlwind that shoots it every which way. It's very fun. Oh no, not bitter coffee. Add some sugar, add some honey, add both. But yeah, so those are two fun little locales. Prison Peaks also kind of falls into that, but Prison Peaks was built off of tragedy, so you know. Okay, let's roll another question. Beep 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 beep. Where's the duck? There it is. All right. What's next? 10. Are there any sunken cities? Yes. It's an entire sunken nation, actually. Over here, Tuvisht, it is the underwater nation. Because there's a lot of like semi-Atlantean types of cities. This whole area, even when you're like sailing over it, you can see the lights down in the water. Massive, bustling, thriving cities, all interconnected. Um, oh, my back. Yeah, we can have fish fuckers. But yeah, so Trevist is the biggest one. That's like the basically the whole like nation continent, like the sunken continent of Trevist. And then there's like a sort of smaller one over here in the Tylock. This is also where the one of the meteor impact was. So the Tylock is one of those. Oh, thank you. Honor the fish people by hydrating. Yes, everyone hydrate. But yeah, so people live in the Tylock. They're very magically enhanced because of it. And then there's Aradata, which no one can live there. They don't know why. It's specifically Skyfell that no one can live in, and Aradata that no one can live in. There's just it's almost too irradiated with magic to safely traverse. Basically, so in D&D terms, let's use it's the I'm gonna cast Firebolt. Actually, you cast Fireball. Okay, rude. Like that kind of stuff. Magic goes nuts there, and then Aradata eats magic. So it's a bad time. It's a bad time over there. There's some very strange architecture in Aradata, and no one understands what it is. It's going to be explored in comics, so I don't want to talk about it too much. Yeah. I mean, but that's why I'm doing this lore stream, because it's just like, yeah, I'm realizing I have like a lot of little things that it's like, oh, these aren't super common in like most like fantasy settings, so like let me talk about them a little bit, you know? But yeah, so lots of there's like sunken nations all over the place. But yeah, biggest one is basically all of this area right here, and then the Tylock. There's probably some smaller islands over on here. But yeah. Oh no. Oh, I'm being edged by a sneeze. Ugh. Ugh. Oh, that's terrible. Okay. Anyways, let us roll another question, shall we? 12. Kind of staying in this middle range over here. What are some haunted stories / myths about places in the world? Ooh. Hauntings are very complicated. Death is a little broken in this world. For many number of reasons. Hauntings aren't as common, at very least with like spirits and stuff. Oh well, I can't have epic in the background while I'm talking. It's too much of a bop, you know? Let's go to Jasmine's playlist. But hauntings are very rare in a way, just because when people die, at very least if their bodies are left, if their bodies have been left in the dark, they don't stay as bodies. Oh my god, sorry. My voice, I don't know, it's been, you know what? No, I do know, it's the dryness. It's just killing my throat all the time. So if you hear raspiness, that's why. Yeah, waft the slow cooker steam my way, because that'll definitely help. But yeah, it's a little complicated, just because when people die and they leave their bodies left in the dark. Stop.
That's what good pussy sounds
Yes,
like.
I'm aware, so don't put that on Twitch.
You want a little nibble?
No, I'm good. Hold on, I got a cup. Okay, there we go. Hi. Hacked up a lung real quick. Why would you miss dry air? It is terrible for me. Listen, I, at this point, would rather deal with the humidity. And that's saying something, because I fucking hate humidity. But anyways, what was I saying? What was I saying? Hold on. Hold on, my brain is stalling again. My brain is in like, ooh, wiggles, jaw wiggle land. Death is broken, yes. So, when bodies are left in the dark, they become creatures called oblivion. Maybe we'll work on that when we're finished this map. They become creatures called oblivion, which are these shadow creatures, sorta, that essentially just try and eat anything that exists. They are destroyers. They're thoughtless. No real way to kind of prevent them, other than, hey, if you have a corpse, put torches around them and hope the animals get them first. Because otherwise you'll have to deal with a bunch of oh my god, seriously, what is happening? You'll have to deal with a bunch of creatures that are actively trying to kill you, because they hate that you exist. I'm not exaggerating. They hate that you're around and exist, and it sucks for them that you exist.
Christians a canon in Astoria?
What?
You mean Christians a canon? Like in
No! Oh my goodness. Bodies in the dark no longer being bodies. Yeah, essentially. Yeah, so cremation is the most popular for everyone. It's bodies need to be destroyed as soon as there is death. So, thank you. Oh, I'm actually out of water. 2 seconds. Oopsie doopsie. I have acquired water. Hi. Hi. Jesus, religious is real in this thing? Absolutely not. Though there are definitely some religious sects that will, try and be like, actually, our God is the only valid God. But that's with any religion, let's be honest. Just gonna put like a little dotting of islands. But yeah, so the rich people get their bodies put into like crystal coffins and are surrounded by glowing crystals so that their bodies are never left in the dark and they're able to decay naturally. Which is, again, it's a privilege of the rich. To be able to have your body naturally decay. Everyone else is just like, no, you gotta have your body cremated. You don't get a choice in that. There's essentially a fantasy Geneva Convention where one of the laws of engagement is you have to, when there has been a massive death toll, there has to be a temporary truce for people to gather the dead and dispose of the bodies. It is requirement. Obviously, assholes in war will actively use that to then like, okay, and now you gotta, so we just killed a bunch of people, and now you gotta deal with all these oblivion trying to kill you as well. But, you know. Goddamn capitalism, yeah. Listen, the real villain of this story is capitalism. It always will be. Yeah, there's like shit going down with like, oh, what's going on with the gang? And there's all these weird magic things, but the real villain is always going to be capitalism and classism. Yeah, that's cool. It's just that like, does this really add anything other than looking cool? No, but it looks cool, so it adds something. um, yeah. Does that mean when death broke ancient cemeteries with corpses not fully decomposed, shit went nuts? Yeah. Yeah. When Skyfell first happened, it took about 3 to 5 centuries for people to sort of gather up first things first, because people were scattered to the winds. It was our Earth population of like, I don't even know what we're at, like 6
billion.
We're at 8?
Yeah.
I remember when we were at 6. Jesus. So this, think of our population of like 8 billion reduced to globally under 500,000, pretty much. If not even lower. Like, it was a practically mass extinction event. And it took a while for any of these cemeteries, if there were fresh enough bodies, let's say, for them to actually start changing into being, you know, oblivion creatures. But that mass extinction event, it sort of just vaporized most people. And any bodies that were left, yeah. I mean, there was very much a long history of cannibalism for a while, because no more animals. It was a real bad time. I would love to do like a comic based, like, from the POV of the group of survivors. A very specific group. Very specific group. And just how everything sort of went down. Pompeii Global Edition. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's essentially, think of this in particular was like 100 nukes going off in a single location. And then this one was about 70 nukes. And then down here was about 130. It irradiated the world with so much magic that it killed most people. Most people were, like, half of people were killed by just impact, and then the rest quickly died out from the magic radiation. Yeah. It was a lot, and this is now the world that exists thereafter. That's the setting. And I'm really excited to get into some of that, because there's a lot there. There sure is a lot there. Let me put in some of the rivers, because I realized I didn't actually put in any of the rivers that are here. That's fine. Imagining people getting magic radiation sickness, but instead of getting weak and dying, they just keep yeah, no, Kian, that is honestly what happened for quite a few people. Um, that and also just it's radiation poisoning, so people just died. You gave the Brady Bunch, yeah, pretty much. Um, yeah, that would be the comic of POV the survivors. That would be the Brady Bunch for sure. um, yeah, this place has so many rivers because this is like an entire swamp system. Um, marsh, greenland, like sort of very, very water lands over here. And it's incredibly foggy. Very, very, very foggy over here. Um, yeah, that's a little more accurate to this area over here. But yeah, there yeah, I'll give this. There are still people who don't have any sort of magical ability and are still actively suffering under the environment almost 3 millennia later. Um, they call themselves original humans because they are still affected by the magical radiation in the air, and are unable to do any form of magic. Um, and it sucks for them because this is very much a world. I'm not doing a disability allegory. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, this is very much a world that has adapted for magic people and magic users. Fair name though. It is. Yeah. Because it's not even like, oh, we're descendant from the original. It's like, no. It's just these guys are still completely my brain said, yeah, they're raw dogging this magical radiation, unlike everyone else who's just used to it. And it's like, no, that is technically right. Oh, quick thing. This crater. Yeah, this crater. Um, I just had the fun idea of what if that's where, like Flicker City came from originally? Cause something happened about 2 millennia before story. Uh, that is so there is a system that is essentially teleportation circles. It's called warp. It's an acronym. Um World Axis Reposition Point or something like that. Um it's warp points because of course ATM machine style. Um Big fuck off explosion happened because they were testing the very first versions of warp in Kofali about 2 millennia ago. And it didn't end well. Uh and it's just a giant crater now that people are very scared to go near. Since acronyms are basically unused until the 20th century. Yeah, yeah. Listen, if we're these guys are just starting to get into their like a more technological evolution, millennia or century, millennia. About 2 millennia ago. A little less. Yep. Um, so that's an idea I just had anyways. That might not stay, but I think that's cool. I think that would also make a lot of sense if that's where Flicker City originally came from, which would explain everything. Ooh, yep. Yep. I might have to keep that. Anyways, um let's roll another question, shall we? cross off this. All right. Mm-mm-mm. And ugh, 19. Besides blood strikery, what forms of magic would be taboo to some cultures but not to others? Hmm. I mean, there's a lot of it's kind of like that for all of the magics, depending on where you go. Lorelei is very much Arcanists rule, the rest of them suck. But that's because Lorikira, which is like the main power of the continent, is an Arcanist magocracy. Uh and then fuck off everyone else. I guess you can stay as well. There are elementalists over in Lomir that is, and also Evangate that is just like, yeah, okay, I guess you can stay. You guys kind of caused the apocalypse like a century ago, though, so localized apocalypse though. It's fine. But in Pia Fatoria, there's still that like Cold War conflict of, oh, elementalists suck, oh, arcanists suck. It's still a bit of a mess over in Pia Fatoria, even after all this time. It's just general resentment and bitterness, you know. You know how it is. Um there are there's a couple of smaller places that are very like respectful to silver tongues, because it's the like these guys are able to stop wars from ever breaking out, and that's huge. So we very much respect silver tongues so long as they're like treating everything correctly, you know. It's still like a little bit of a double-edged thing. Silver tongue is still long history with swindlers, but I think probably Rudath. Yeah. Rudath definitely would have a lot more respect for silver tongues than other places. Um uh let's see. I think Psy mages definitely would have more sort of power just in the underwater kingdoms, for the sole reason of like, yeah, I mean it's kind of hard to talk underwater unless you're everything is sort of made for it. Um so communicating mentally is much preferred. Um Stuff like that. Give it a little texture. It's like, oh, you're too smooth. But yeah, that's kind of that. But Arcanist magic has definitely taken over majority. Let's make there like actually. Oh wait, no. Subtract. Just need to make that bigger. Yeah. You know, I think that's looking pretty good. I just need to come up with names, but I'll come up with names after stream. Because coming up with names on stream is embarrassing. Let's shimmy over to Clip Studio Paint once this is done. There we go. Good soup. But yeah, so that's that for that question. Let's do another question. Strike out 19. All right. Next question. Natural 20. Very nice. Most common natural disasters in each area. It depends where you are. It definitely depends. Because all over the world, there are rifts. There's elemental rifts. And it can get a little fucky. So this is actually something that happened a little bit ago. I want to say maybe like 2 centuries at most. Um, Ebon Gate homes the ice rift. So that's why it's a constant just tundra and snowstorm up there. At one point, about those 2 centuries ago, the the sort of area of that storm went very quickly south. Like way, 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 way south. Um and it was quote unquote thanks to the mages of Laura Kira that they were able to push back the cold. Revisionist history. Um but yeah, those sort of things where rifts will flare every once in a while and fuck up larger areas than expected, that happens. That happens quite a bit. Um the only natural disaster that isn't really related to a rift that would happen, I mean, there's magic storms that just happen from time to time. Um it's kind of hard to track those though because that can be related to any number of things. At least mass populace hasn't been able to find a way to track it easily. But it's just like, oh yeah, I was vibing one day and then suddenly, there was a massive like aurora borealis and suddenly without any prior fucking notice, uh all magic was gone for about 3 weeks. Just nothing magical worked. Stuff like that. Those are the most like natural disasters, quote unquote. But everything else tends to be connected to the rift that they're closest to. Um yeah, like Sephora homes the Flora rift and is home of the crawling thicket, which is the direct result of the War of Sap and Ink. Just things like that, where it's just like there are these natural forces that will lash out every once in a while, and people aren't really sure why. But it tends to be a different one each century kind of a deal. Sometimes twice in a century. Where it's just like things will get a little bit out of control and no one ever really has been able to guess a pattern. Essentially. And okie dokie. Let's roll again. 2. Local craftwork and specialties and how magic is woven into those crafts. Okay. So, this sort of comes into rune work. Rune work is the most common just because it's the most accessible, but there's all sorts of different media for putting magic into objects. Sometimes it's like, okay, here's a sword. Sure. We'll draw Issa's sword. Why not? Do a little circle, do the little funky guard thingies. Do like that. Yeah, cool. Sword. So, if we wanted to enchant something like a sword, most of the time it would be given to like blacksmiths and stuff like that. And things would be engraved, I mean, depending on the effect you want. Most of the time, because runes again, most accessible, uh it would just be runes going upside the blade. And most of the time these runes are actual like sentences. Um a lot of the enchantments that are put into objects are like affirmations almost, where it's just like something like, this will blaze fire and cut down any foes. Like, it's like you're putting a affirmation into the world, except you're carving it into an object. So suddenly you got a fire sword type shit. Oh, you know what? Great example. Let me pull up pages. Great example from the prologue right here. Small little runes that are carved into Nolan's sort of harness that he wears that light up when he puts a little bit of his fire magic into the harness and into the runes. And it's essentially, the runes are just, it's just coding instructions pretty much. And it's just saying, the axes will appear in my hands, pretty much. Like, if we were to put it at its most base level, you know? So it's stuff like that. That's kind of how these enchantment works. And then, like, if it's Nolan, where he also puts his own magic onto something as well that is already magical, stuff like that. So it's just he can certain materials will be chosen for certain items so that they can interact with magic better. Like, there's some like wood, some metals that take magic better, alloys, specially grown / very, very old trees, things like that. Trees that are grown by magic, so like flora elementalists, they get that good money because everyone wants their materials for all sorts of items. Lots of houses are ended up built with that, and like protection wards are put into houses, etc., etc., etc. So, but also, runes are just one way. It's also like weaving materials into scarves, you know? Let's take, this one's barely a spoiler. Let's take Jason. Yep. We're gonna take Jason. And he's got his little fuck-ass poncho. This is a little fuck-ass poncho, though, that he kitted out. If he were to, like, lift it, right? On the inside of the poncho, you would see that, essentially, like, embroidered into the cloth itself are these, like, scrolling and spiral, kinds of, again, they're kind of like runes, but they're also sentences. Where it's just like, he's got his being like, no one can fucking magically track me if they tried. So, yeah. There's all sorts of different ways of imbuing magic. The most basic before runes were even a thing was just essentially mashing two things together. So let's say there were no runes, which means no fire, right? What someone could do is, if they find, say, crystals are excellent conduits. There's a reason why Prism Peaks is so big, unfortunately. Crystals are excellent conduits, so people will essentially just, like, put magic into a crystal. The crystal will hold it, and then you can make, like, a little carving into an object, place the crystal inside, and it'll just spread that magic to the object. Obviously, you gotta be careful, because you don't want to suddenly have the entire thing catching fire. That's not gonna be great. You gotta hold on to that. Your hands are gonna burn. It's gonna be big ouchie. So there's special ways of doing it. Um, but you could do something like small jewels that are embedded along the actual blade itself. Things like that, if you don't want to do rune work. But then you gotta be very careful with it. You don't want to break the blade, blah, blah, blah. All sorts of different mediums. Um, there is a clay that responds to mental commands. So you could be focusing on this clay real hard, right? And you like my doodles? You'd be focusing on it real hard, right? And then suddenly this like little ball of clay will just turn into like this swirling piece of just a sculpture that you can make with your mind. Like it'll respond to it and stuff like that. So people have used those clays to make all sorts of things. Like it's an everything material. So it's so long as it's okay that it's being made with clay. So forks, plates, furniture sometimes, smaller things if it's smaller amounts, etc., etc. So all sorts of ways. Basically, any sort of an artistic media, people have found a way to put magic into it. Cause art is magic. Ah. Shut up! Don't laugh. Okay. Let's roll again. Let's see. I think we did. Oh, we didn't. Are there any royalty? Not as much anymore. People have been moving away from monarchies and stuff like that. There have been few too many uprisings and the like that people are kind of like, maybe we should do more ruling nations via council or democracy, but we're still gonna have like the older like royal family still kind of in charge. They're still there. They're still public figures. They can still veto things. But
You can just say Britain.
I can just say Britain. I know I can just say Britain. But so places like Lorikira, that is a majocracy, they've ousted all of the royalty. There's still nobles and stuff like that. There's nobility, but none of them really have major sway on like governmental things. About it, like the most recent big thing that happened was like less than a year ago, the royal family of Prison Peaks were all fucking killed in a coup. It was a huge thing, and it was like one of the last major like monarchies that was still around in a major establishment way. But now they're gone, so yeah, good stuff. But yeah, there's still like Win, he is technically nobility. Um he just doesn't wear a mask all the time because that's not he's not that fancy of a noble. Um but yeah. Yeah, there's more just nobles in the sense of like, yeah, there's like dukes, duchesses, ladies, lords, but it's titles. It's just titles at this point, and it might give you a little bit of sway over some people, or it might just be like, oh, this is a like fancy ball or something like that. So I, as a fancy person with money and land and whatever, I'm gonna go and show off or whatever, you know? But yeah, it's a society like a it's just a title at this point. They don't have as much sway as they used to, but it's hand wavy. It's a bit of a Ouroboros. All right. 3. How did the change of perception about fire affect people like Nolan with fire powers? So, let's start with a big fact of the world. When you look up into the night sky, there is the moon. Just one moon. There is also a very faint ring around the world. You can see it better from certain places than others. Sometimes it's really bright, sometimes it's not. But there is a ring around the world, like Saturn. The moon is connected to a god, specifically Iusis, Blaze Watcher, because there is a giant fire spot on the moon. And the moon isn't tidally locked, so it's 1 year you see the fire spot, and then the next year you don't. Obviously, they made a religion out of this. And Iusis was credited because he is the fire god and stuff like that. Fire is definitely seen as divine. So there have been far too many people who assume that Nolan is like a Iusian and stuff and is like religious. And then as soon as they say that to his face, he laughs so hard that he'll like crack a rib kind of shit. He does not care about the gods in any way, shape, or form. But he does get mistaken to be religious because, you know, in the beginning of society and the people coming back to sort of living and existing, fire, once certain religions were established, fire was seen as very sacred. So that's why there are hearths in like public spaces, but using things like fire torches or like candles and stuff like that, it's not common. It's really not common anymore. People usually will use crystals for light sources these days. It's a lot easier, but you know, you can't always have crystals. So people will be like, okay, well, according to like Iusian lore, the god can see through all fire. So we can totally just like let him peek in on this conversation if we're comfortable with that. Or we can find a different means of light. So people assume now that you only have fire powers if you're connected to the divine. Sorta. The elementalists definitely had to fight against devotion mages for a really long time about that. Because it's just like, you guys don't get a monopoly on a certain kind of element just because your god is connected to it. That just says that your god is an elementalist. And then the devotion mages are like, no, this is an element, a divine element of our god given to us. It's a whole thing. There's a lot of magic wars. A lot of dick swinging, a lot of dick measuring of my... Actually, I have a better interpretation of how my magic works and your magic. Shit like that. But yeah, so Nolan's is definitely... He definitely gets confused for Iusian a lot. Specifically because of how he uses his fire. Because for him, it's not so much like the fire comes from him. He's not really pulling from a source. That's why people think that he's Iusian, because it's just like, oh, well, I don't see you pulling on an elemental source, so you're a divine follower then? It's caused issues in the past. There we go. But yeah. So it gets a little hand wavy with that. Comics gonna be covering Nolan's fire, of course. It's a fun one. But yeah. I won't get too much into that because it's we don't want to get too much into spoiler territory. Now, let's go to the next one, shall we? I think I'm gonna do maybe like actually, hold up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's finish out the questions, and then I'm gonna actually wrap stream there because I'm starting to get hungry. It's that like, oh, all of a sudden, I have a stomach. So let's look at this for now. Let's roll. All right. Oh, you know what else I will do real quick? Just chatting. Gonna change the category real quick because now I'm not gonna be drawing, unless I need to. But let's do just chatting for a bit. Okay, let us roll. We rolled a 14. I just got 14 again. Stop rolling 14. Okay, you're going into the dice tray. PB, Nutella, and banana. Why would you tell me that? That sounds so good. And I'm hungry. Okay, you know what? We're not gonna roll because we've already crossed off quite a lot. So let's actually go in order. But before we do, I'm gonna run to the bathroom. And then we're gonna do rapid fire those last 8 questions, alright? Oh, 9 questions. I just realized I didn't catch the first one. Alright, be right back. Just stare at the map for now. Enjoy the places that say text. Okay, so let's do this. Last 9-ish questions. Rapid fire. Weaponry and how weapons are impacted by magic. So I kind of covered this when talking about like how things are sort of how magic is imbued into like weapons and things like that. But there is definitely weapon work has become its own art. Mostly because it's an unspoken cultural thing, at very least in Lore Akira, of weapons are peasant tools. Anyone who is using weapons to fight are weak. It's an unspoken thing, but everyone kind of gets that vibe because this is the land of mages and magic. And what do you mean you need a stick in order to threaten me? You can't just conjure up magic? So, it's cultural. Meanwhile, you have like Rudath, that they have a very, very intricate culture of making the finest weapons. Like that is where you go to get your good weapons. They have the master crafters, the people who will spend like 7 years making a single weapon that is so perfect. Um, it's a whole thing. So it really depends on where you go, but yeah, it's depending on where you are. It's either you're using a sword, really? That's so lame. Or it's why are you using magic when you can just stab someone with like the best sword ever? So take your pick. Next. I love that the entire question is just dragons. That's the whole question. They exist. All sorts of different kinds. Scaly, feathery, furry, fucking leather. Yeah. Yeah. Scaly, furry, feathery, leathery. Just different kinds of dragons. Dragons that are made out of crystal. Pretty fucking common, actually. Um, yes, darling.
So, for the sake of having a diverse world,
Mm-hmm.
is there a single token straight dragon? Or are all the dragons gay, as we know all dragons are gay?
All the dragons are queer, is the thing. They're not just gay. They're more pan than anything. So there's
Listen, I'm using gay as the blanket term. I should be using queer, it's more accurate. But we
Which
just
dragon?
know, so long as we all know, there are no straight dragons in the world.
No, never. That's listen, they have lived for too long. They don't give a shit about that stuff. Most of them are also just like gender. I think I have that somewhere in my horde, but I don't really use that stuff.
I think I picked up a gender or two back in the day.
And then there's that one dragon that is just like, I have every single gender. Do you want to see my collection? So
They pull out a polycule of queers.
pretty much.
That's just the tranquil.
It is the tranquil. Wish dragon from Neverending Story. So there are about 8 dragons that are sort of, they're mythological dragons that people are like, oh yeah, you know, these are like the sources of the dragons, this is where they come from, but they don't exist. Like it's huh, dragon gods. Yeah, they're essentially, it's the 8 dragon gods essentially. And these are like, oh yeah, there's one that is actually a statue. It's a living statue that only moves when you're not looking at it. There's a statue that lives in the deepest trench of Trevisht, and you can swim for days and you will never reach the bottom, and that is where one of those dragons lives. Like, stuff like that. These are dragons of myth. Now I'm wondering if some types of magic are more or less effective than against others. Yes. There are definitely silver tongues and psi mages have the biggest advantage against any sort of esoterist. Why did you make a weeping angel dragon? Because there is simply one that is like that. It cannot move while it is being perceived. Who hurt you? You don't want that list. Here's the thing. Just because it moves like a weeping angel doesn't mean it's evil. That doesn't mean that it's evil. It just means that it can't move around freely. That's all it really means. Meanwhile, yeah, but most dragons, they come in all different sizes. Some have wings, some are more like land drakes and stuff like that. They take on all sorts of different, like, they don't just look like Western, like, mythology dragons, you know, the typical, like, D&D dragons and stuff like that. That's boring. So oh yes, this would be Weeping Angels from Doctor Who. Yes, very much referencing like episode of Blink and the Weeping Angels. But yeah, no, not as evil. They don't send you into the past. They don't hunt you. That specific like mythological dragon that can't move while being perceived, they will speak to you just in your head. But being around them, according to myth, is very strange because you can see, like, if it's snowing, terrible time to call me mom. But it's like if it's snowing and you go into the lair of this dragon, the snow will stop in midair. They have a weird effect on time, so say the myths. They don't hunt you or send you to the past. Yeah, they don't. They just are there and vibing. Time magic is fucky. Time magic is very fucky in this world, I will say. No dragons connected to that though. Anyway, so that's my general answer. As for dragons, I mean, like where they live and stuff, they live all over. There's a lot underground. There's some that make their nests in the sky. All sorts. I will be stealing this shamelessly from my campaign. Yeah, do it. Fucking go for it. Listen, I cannot stress enough. If you want to steal this setting for your world, like for your own campaigns, fucking do it. Absolutely do it. And if you got any questions for like, hey, I want to do something like this, how does it sort of work in this world? Like if you want to run a game in Everathis, you have my blessing, and you feel free to ask me questions. I will give you those answers. But yeah. So all sorts of stuff on dragons. Okay, next question is how seemingly unimportant background characters can change how the story progresses. I mean, this is a living, breathing world. Background unimportant characters will always impact how things are. So, read the comic and find out. How did faith in the gods come about? That is a loaded question. Religion spread a lot, like a wildfire. The song that's playing too. Sorry. Religion spread the most about 2 millennia before the story, where before it was just like, oh, I am able to perform these miracles and stuff, and when I reach out to certain aspects, something responds, and it's not just like, oh, I feel it respond. It's like I can hear a thing respond and a person appears. They have told me their name, and they've said if I follow them, they can give me great power, and the only thing they want in return is just tell other people or just do good, things like that. That's all the exchanges, and that was kind of the start of devotion magic, was because of the gods. And then people were like, well, those gods are lame, so I'm gonna go find something else I can give my devotion to, and that's how things like warlocks happen. And D&D campaign is aftermath of Magical Ground Zeroes. Well, hell yeah. I love Magical Ground Zero stuff. It's so fun. That's why I base my whole world on it. But yeah, I'm trying to I'm trying to be like, okay, what can I actually say without saying too much? But yeah, lots of missionaries traveled all over the world. All these different things. But yeah, lots of gods are regional as well. Like in Lorelei, there are only really 2 majorly worshipped gods. And that is Kuri, and I can never remember what your name is. Hold on. 2 gods. Kuri, the Frost Warden, and Rathkin, Mistrum of the Broom. It is a god of fog and a god of ice. So those are like the 2 sort of major religions in like Lorelei and stuff like that. So lots of ice imagery and lots of like fog mystery, or like fog imagery. Both of them are gods of like mystery and secret, but one of them is about telling secrets and the other one is about hiding secrets. Which is real great. Real great. It has some fun little implications when it comes to, you know, the government. Um
And remember, kid, the government wouldn't do that.
The government
Oh,
wouldn't
yes,
do
they
that. Anyways, but yeah. So like and different continents have different like godly worship and stuff like that. But yeah, those at very least for like our story, those are going to be the main two. At least continentally. Obviously there's stuff with Deleuze because of Issa. Um but yeah. Any hoozle. Moving right along. Are there any additional cults in the world? Obviously. There's always going to be cults. There's probably a cult over something like cheese. I don't know. There's always going to be cults. Um the Temple of the Bloom Child is just one, and that's based off of bullshit stuff that'll be covered in the upcoming chapters. But yeah, there's always going to be cults. Some of them are religious, some of them are just like, yeah, we ideology predates or personality predates ideology. So we're going to come up with an entire organization based off of the fact that we're all assholes. Like there's always cults. What/who are the various noble families? Well, I talked about that a little bit in previous question. Yeah, it's like super duper straightforward. There's all sorts all over the place. Most of the like nobles are long lineages from older families of like royalty and stuff, but now have more just been watered down to like Wynn's family, for instance. They're whiskey barons, but mostly in name. They're more like a nouveau riche type of a nobility, you know? They came into the title through marriage, and now they just have a very successful business. It was going to be more successful, but then deals sort of fell through. And then something happened with Wynn, and that's don't worry about it. Anyways, but yeah, there's all sorts, all over, but less so these days. Now it's the title of noble is more like how successful is your business, you know? Next question. What are some of your favorite giant beasties / monsters? Ooh, the architects. These are ancient beings that emerged right after Skyfell happened. Think sizes of mountains, these giant creatures uh that with a wave of their arm could flatten a mountain range. Not because they touched it, but because they willed it. Um the event of Skyfell caused a rift in reality so large that they were able to come through and they were like, "Oh, well this isn't where we're supposed to be, but we're going to keep doing our job of terraforming and fixing this world." Which is why this planet looks like a bit of a shit show. Um, why the continents look so fucky. And a lot of the continents actually were built off of the dead bodies of these architects because they couldn't really survive here. So yeah. There's a mountain range in Shania that is partially built from one of the architects' bodies. It's fun. It's great. There's a lot of things that happened back then. Um, but that's actually how the gods first emerged. Fun fact. Was because the architects came, they kept destroying everything. The gods came into power and dealt with them, let's say. So those are definitely my favorite is the architects. And last two questions. Are there any countries actively at war? Actively? Not really. There's Cold Wars. There's always Cold Wars. And we're kind of in that time of a Cold War between honestly kind of Shania and Rudath, but those two also have beef with a lot of Lorikira. Because again, the Majocracy is being a shit. But it's a Cold War, so they're spying on each other. They're sending in operatives. They're gathering intel. Maybe they're killing a couple people. Stuff like that. Now, countries at war, that's one thing. There's also a lot of civil unrest in Lorelei. Lots of it. And we'll be getting to that in comics, so I won't be going too much into that right now. But what I can say is the last mage of... what was his title? Shit. Hold on. I need to double check the title. 2 seconds. Oh, cool. I didn't write it down. Oh, I'm a moron. No! Oh, no, it is. Aha! I have it. Yeah. The Archmage of Security. The last Archmage of Security went rogue. And now they're having to deal with the fallout of that. So that's fun. Oh, there's actually 3 questions left. So that's that. Was there a section of the world you really loved making but realized it didn't fit the story you wanted to tell? Yes. There was a large portion of Shania that I actually wanted to have as a part of the story, but then I realized, actually, that's a lot. I'm gonna have to scrap that. So there's like a couple of adventures that would have happened in Shania that are now just gonna happen in Lorikira. But yeah, there's a bunch of I would love to at some point do like a little mini comic of their adventures in Viru, which, yes, it sounds French because it is spelled French. It's like Vierrous, like Viru.
I hate it.
I know you hate it. So yeah, there were places that a lot more travel was originally planned, but then I was like, actually, I need to focus in a little bit. This is getting a little too all over the place. And then last question. Recent fashion trends based on new technology. I actually don't know how to answer that, I'm gonna be honest. But that's mostly because I'm terrible with fashion, I'm terrible with clothes. I think there's definitely been more fashion that isn't practical anymore. Especially with, rise of wealth and stuff like that. There's now more of a like, yeah, I made this dress that basically no one can wear because it's made of living fire. Stuff like that. And it's only now that there's like even slightly technology starting to be made, so there might be the reemergence of like finer cloths that haven't been made in a very, very long time, but just made by a machine instead of by hand. Things like that. But yeah, it's complicated because I personally don't know a lot of fashion history in general, which I need to brush up on. But it's hard to know where to start, But that's it. Those are the 20 questions. And I am very hungry. And we're right at the 2-hour mark. Let's go. But do you guys have any follow-ups or anything that is just like, actually, I'm still curious about this? If you got any questions, feel free to ask or just leave them in the Discord later if you think about them later. But I think that's it, honestly. Methinks that's it. We didn't do a lot of art today, but that's fine. This was just a yap session, and I'm really glad that you guys were here for it. Even if some of it kind of went over over heads of just like being confusing as fuck because I ramble. Yeah, I think that's where we're gonna end. Yeah, I need my glasses. I can't see shit. I've taken them off so that you guys can actually like see my face and whatever. See me blink. The fact that my camera can't detect when I'm blinking when I'm not wearing my glasses. Like look, like you can see me blink now. And then I put on my glasses. It doesn't really work. That's it. Let me go send you guys somewhere. Let me send you to someone doing art, hopefully. Actually, is Mitch live? If they are live. Oh my god. Oh, Mitch is live. I'm sending you guys over to Mitch, I think. What are they up to, actually? Let's see. So many people are live right now. Holy shit. Wait, is Mitch live? Or are they just in VC?
They might be about to go live.
What was that?
They might be about to go live.
They might be about to go live. We could linger for a little bit. I could yammer about other things. Yeah, let's see. Mitch links. We could also just do like an unofficial raid or like an offline raid. Hold on. I'm gonna just say in chat. You going live in a bit. Let's see if they respond. Yes, I am. But yeah. I think that is it. If Midge isn't going live anytime soon, or if they're not like I don't know what they're up to, we might just wrap here, honestly. And I'll just I don't know. Let's see. Who's doing stuff? How do you not have a category? How does that work? Oh, you know what? We can send you to Fox Spotter. Let's send you guys to Fox Spotter. Yeah. All right, gang. I'm gonna go eat. And you guys should go take care of yourselves as well. But let's enjoy a quick little raid over to Fox Spotter, shall we? I will see you all next week on Twitch. But I might be live tomorrow somewhere else. Just saying. Anyways, I will see you all later. Bye-bye. I forgot to start the raid. Hold on.